As European countries seek out terror cells of Islamic extremists trying to break them up, the U.S. fighting this fight as well, one group they will all need to work with very closely is the Muslim community. So this is a big question. How do counterterrorism officials convince them to work with the government when doing so could make them a prime target? Let's talk about this with Zunera Mazhar, an reporter who reached out to CNN about her concerns that radicals are tarnishing her religion and what, frankly, she should do as a mother to tell her child. Also joining us again, retired Marine Corps General James Williams, former commander of the 4th Marine Division. Thank you for being here. Zunera, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about sort of the predicament that you feel you are in and why you filed this report, why you're speaking out?
Sure. Thank you so much, Poppy, for having me here. You know, I'm originally from Pakistan, living in the United States now, and I have to say, as a Muslim, anytime any kind of terror attack happens, the whole Muslim community is on the edge because these terrorists are a liability to us. I think we have a moral and ethical responsibility at this point to come out and really say that, you know, this is not our religion, this does not represent who we are. And the community has really taken it upon themselves to say, okay, we are going to speak up. Sometimes it is hard to find that, you know, on the media because not a lot of voices are being heard, but I'm so glad to be a part of this conversation. And that's why I filed that report, because I was so frustrated just seeing all the time these terrorists coming out and representing Muslim community when there are so many faces of Islam, and you know they just are expanding on this stereotype that needs to be addressed.
And you said, well, what do I tell my daughter? How do I explain this to my daughter?
Absolutely, because you know once again, every time something happens, recently one of my nephews said, did Muslims do something again? You know, and that's a very hard thing to hear. So it goes back to saying, are we having proper conversations in our communities? Are we having proper conversations online to address these things? So I was able to talk to my daughter by saying, look, we are a diverse group of individuals. Just like, you know, in any community, there are good people and bad people. This is one of the examples where a lot of bad people have come out and said, this is who we are. And now it's the responsibility. Even today, when I was coming on board, I told her that, you know, I'm going to CNN to say that this is not how all Muslims are. We are a religion that teaches love, compassion, and tolerance for all.
So, General, to that point, what is your take in terms of building the bridges, building the relationships here in America, in Europe, between the Muslim community and law enforcement? Obviously, some Muslims are part of law enforcement as well. But in terms of being able to fight this fight the best that we can, how important are strengthening those relationships?
Well, they're very important. I mean, I think Zunera makes a great point, is that in all religions you have ideologues, whether they're you know, good or bad, but ultimately what we should be looking for is the good in every culture. And one of the challenges, I think, for law enforcement is that law enforcement has to go out and reach into the communities. You know, the police forces, for example, that are doing community policing are doing great jobs to get out in the community, find out what's going on, because there's a source of intelligence that will help them understand what's going on in that community. Sometimes law enforcement may be a little bit isolated in that sense, and everybody has perceptions of different cultures. So the only way to create trust and understanding and cooperation is getting involved with that culture and understanding it.
Do you think, I mean, obviously you have many lessons from war, right? From fighting war, from leading, from commanding. Are there lessons from the war zone that apply to rooting out terrorists here at home?
Oh, well, absolutely. But I'll tell you, in my experience, I've been talking to Muslims all my life, and I talk to them every day. And not just here in Texas, but all around the world. I have associates in Yemen. They keep me up to date with what's going on there and throughout Europe and so forth. And we have great conversations about what everybody needs to know. And sometimes we don't do enough of an effort, whether it's on the media, whether it's with the military, or with the law enforcement officials, to reach out to the community and really understand it. You know, what we have is a conflict between how Christians and some right-wing Christians believe, And some Muslims believe in maybe we can't have a dialogue. And I think, there's a lot of perceptions about both religions that need to be really understood at a more basic level, rather than everybody sort of making up the complaints that they may have, but really understanding what is it they need to know. I mean, the radicals are one thing, and then you have great moderates both in Christian religion, in Hebrew and the Jewish religion, and also in the Muslim world. So we need to really have an understanding of what we really need to understand to prevent the type of terrorist activities that are going on. Remember, it's the young people right now that feel disenfranchised, and I know you've had many conversations about it. And the disenfranchisement, especially when you look at Europe, you have to go back and look at the history of the Algerian Revolution, and a lot of that goes back to colonial France and what's happened as they moved into Europe. So there's some of the challenges.
It's a very important point, disenfranchisement and what that has meant. Thank you very much, General. Good to have you on the program. Zunera, thank you for your report and coming out and speaking to us on this topic. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here, Poppy.
Of course. And for all our viewers, you're not going to want to miss our special 9